simply superior.
Saso insecticide spray and coil. Kumintuntum perkun.
It's Tuesday. Good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Sabata Desa Wekanda, also live on TV3 Ghana, on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Okansi. Tonight, we're still on the tragic killing of Ghanaian traders and truck drivers in neighboring Burkina Faso, bringing you the latest on this particular development. Because as we speak now, we're getting some updates as well on what the way forward will be and some recommendations from security analysts. Stay with us. Also, students alleged to have assaulted a teacher at the West Africa Senior High School, that's WAS, remanded in police custody. We assess the development in the light of the indiscipline in senior high schools. And this is coming just weeks after other senior high school students have been remanded. Same situation. And so what should really be done to serve as a deterrent? Stay with us. We'll have a conversation tonight. Also, as the debate continues about the financial woes of Cocoa Board and how to fix them, President John Dramani Mahama is advocating farmer-centered policies. Stay with us. We have a conversation tonight on this matter, including some concerns that have been raised again about a textbook and its content for junior high schools. A member of parliament who has issued a statement just minutes ago on this matter is going to be joining us to have a conversation on it and to understand exactly what the issues are. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
President Mahama has expressed deep regret over the Valentine's Day killing of 7 Ghanaian tomato traders in northern Burkina Faso. President Mahama described the incident as a troubling indicator of rising insecurity in the sub-region.
Recently, some traders from Ghana went to Burkina Faso to buy tomatoes, and they were ambushed in a village where they were transacting. And armed insurgents, terrorists, and groups attacked. And unfortunately, we lost a number of our compatriots. And so, on behalf of government and people, we express our condolences to the families of those who were either killed or have been injured.
Meanwhile, those survived the deadly terrorist attack in Burkina Faso have safely arrived in Ghana. The female survivors were escorted by Burkinabe security to the Ghanaian border in Paga, where they were received by the Upper East Regional Security Council. 2 others, who were critically injured, have been airlifted to Accra for further medical attention. Akamugrid Donatus Atanga is the regional minister and chair of the Regional Security Council.
We need some bit of counseling. And so, after our short interaction here, I want to have some short period or some, let's say, some limited time, maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour, at an area where the chaplains and the psychologists will be given the opportunity to interact with them and see how we can bring things back to normal.
The Union of Informal Sector Associations and the General Agricultural Workers Union are proposing an engagement with government to address challenges in tomato production. The proposed meeting, they say, will focus on finding lasting solutions to boost local tomato production.
Government should engage us in a meeting, UNWA and the TUC and then the other drivers' unions, so that together we can bring out our solutions and our projections, what government should do to solve this problem. One, government should provide support for the tomatoes farmers. And then 2, provide storage facilities. 3, and then processing machines or factory for processing the tomatoes when it comes in abundance in Ghana.
The anti-LGBTQ bill has been laid again before Parliament for consideration and passage to criminalize same-sex marriages and related matters in the country. Another legislation seeking to lift current restrictions in the Constitution on dual citizens has been laid for consideration. MPs urge speedy passage of the bill to criminalize same-sex marriage and other related issues.
It is the expectation of the sponsors, which is bipartisan. It is a bipartisan private members bill which must be on record. And the expectation is that within this meeting, this Honorable House and all relevant committees will attach alacrity to this bill to pass it with urgency.
If we want to go partisan on this bill, it will be a problem. So it is important from the beginning that the bipartisanship is reflected at every stage, indicating our support and commitment to the passage of this bill, a commitment that we know will go up to the signing the bill.
State prosecutors say they plan to amend corruption charges against former National Service Authority Director Osei Asibe Entry. He is accused of paying about 500 million cedis in allowances to more than 60,000 ghost names. He also allegedly embezzled some 106 million cedis from the NSA's Kumawu Farm project. Ghana Security and Exchange Commission has issued a public warning against an online investment scheme operating under the name Mechanism Marketing Limited, saying the company is not licensed to operate in the country's capital market. The Securities and Exchange Commission says Mechanism Marketing Limited, also known as Mechanism, is neither licensed nor authorized to conduct investment business in Ghana.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Also, it's probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Tum Tum Preco. Coming up next on Ghana Tonight, we have the latest development on the tragic killing of Ghanaian traders in neighboring Burkina Faso. Quite a worrying, harrowing development in there. And it's one that we've been staying the steam on to have the conversation about how the way forward should be. And then also security analysts who have been trumpeting this particular situation of the activities of insurgents and extremist groups at the country's borders and how close the situation is right now. We cannot treat it as business as usual. President John Dramani Mahama is aware of this. He's expressed profound sorrow over the Valentine's Day killing of the 7 Ghanaian tomato traders in northern Burkina Faso. Now we know the death toll has risen to 8, and we'll tell you about it because there's a statement that is confirming and giving details of this. Now, President Mahama described the tragic incident as a disturbing sign of escalating insecurity within the sub-region. Take a look.
We live in a dangerous sub-region, and recent incident has shown what the threat of instability and insecurity is to our regional integration and trade. As has been tradition over decades, we trade amongst ourselves, and so agricultural products from Ghana are traded into Burkina Faso, and agricultural products from Burkina Faso, Niger, onions, tomatoes are traded into Ghana. Recently, some traders from Ghana went to Burkina Faso to buy tomatoes, and they were ambushed in a village where they were transacting, and armed insurgents, terrorist armed groups attacked, and unfortunately.
Oh, we apologize for that faint sound in there, but that's President John Mahama essentially expressing concern about what's happened now and also what is going to be the way forward in ensuring that this doesn't happen again. This then, eventually, we had a statement of an update from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. That's after the president spoke earlier today. So this is confirming, unfortunately, the increase in the death toll as a result of what happened on Valentine's Day. 8 Ghanaian nationals. So now we know that's increased from 7 to 8, have now been confirmed dead after the terrorist attack in Titao, Burkina Faso on February 14. The victims were members of the Ghana National Tomato Traders and Transporters Association engaged in lawful trading activities. One additional injured Ghanaian has died after receiving medical treatment, raising the death toll from 7 to 8. Government has expressed deep condolences to the affected families and loved ones. Ghana has strongly condemned the terrorist attack and declared solidarity with Burkina Faso. The incident has renewed calls for stronger regional security cooperation across West Africa. Government has also ordered immediate air medical evacuation of all injured Ghanaian victims. So that's another development as well. All the injured victims, government has directed an immediate medical, that's air medical evacuation. The Ghana Air Force is actually conducting the medical evacuation operations, and we're going to get an update on that shortly because we have our man closer to the situation who's going to be joining us, Castro Shenela, in a bit to give us an update on this particular one as well. The ambassador and embassy officials in Burkina Faso are directly supporting the affected citizens, plus Burkina Faso authorities are cooperating with Ghana to support rescue and evacuation efforts. Now, earlier we gave you an update on the surviving tomato traders as well who have safely arrived in Ghana. We're going to put that on the screen right now. These tomato traders who survived this attack have today arrived safely to Ghana, and they were guarded and guided by the Ghana Immigration Service officials, and they were received by the regional minister, Castro Shenela. He's a man who has been close to the action, embedded with the security movement and all of this, and giving us clear updates, up-to-the-minute updates on this situation. Castro is connecting with us right now from a location closer to the border. We're not going to disclose it, for security reasons. But Castro, it's good to have you connect with us right now. Now, just walk us through what is happening now regarding the directive from the president to have these injured Ghanaian traders being airlifted to Ghana as soon as possible. Give us an update on that.
Good evening.
Okay. Unfortunately, it's a little...
John Dramani Mahama.
Right.
Can you hear me, Alfred?
I can hear you clearly. There was a breaking connection. I can hear you clearly. Yeah.
All right. Yes. So I was saying good evening to you. And of course, in accordance with the directive issued by the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, today, 2 of the surviving victims who were in very dire condition were airlifted right from Paga in the Upper East region to the national capital Accra, where they will receive further medication or medical attention following the injuries sustained during the attack, that deadly attack in Titao in northern Burkina Faso. Earlier today, I was with the RESEC to the Paga border, where all of this happened right before us. Also, the regional minister who led the RESEC also received 7 of the surviving members of the crew which went to the tower and were subsequently attacked at the Paga border. We had information, when we arrived, we're told that the security agencies from the other side of the border, which is Burkina Faso, escorted them safely following a successful burial of the other people who died deceased in Titao. It was a very solemn moment as people gathered in their hundreds to witness the arrival. Alfred, I can report that people teared up, all over the place at the border, essentially because of the fact that they were happy that at least some of the survivors have been escorted to Ghanaian soil safely, and also thinking about how the rest of those who were, who lost their lives may have gone through and all of that. And generally, it was such a solemn moment as even some of the survivors began to tear up as authorities engaged them as to what actually happened there.
It's troubling development in there. We see their condition getting out of the bus in the company of the officials or that's personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Immigration Service, and the minister receiving them as we're seeing there. But you are close to them. Can you just walk us through exactly what their condition is? How are they looking? What did they tell you off camera as a result of exactly what happened and the condition they find themselves in right now?
Yes, so Alfred, I had an opportunity to speak to 2 of them privately off camera, like you stated rightly. And they tell me it's a difficult time. They can't really speak much. They are thankful that at least they've arrived on home soil safely, but they continue to pray for those who departed, because these were people they were with a few days ago, happily working together as a team and traveling to engage in a lawful activity. And Alfred, bear in mind that this is not the first time they've traveled together. They've taken numerous adventures together as far as working to bring tomatoes back to Ghana is concerned. And so for them, they felt that the fact that the realization dawned on them that they wouldn't be seeing their workmates who they spent nights together on the highway was really troubling. And also, when I arrived there with the military and that of the other security agencies, and we saw them, you could visibly tell that they were really disturbed. Some of the women couldn't even speak or couldn't even open their mouths to utter a word. And like I stated earlier on, some of them periodically or momentarily broke down in tears, especially when they were recounting to the RESEC what they went through. You could see that they still had this photographic memories of all that happened, and that was devastating for them. But in all, like I stated, I spoke to 2 of them who tell me that they are grateful that at least God has saved them and has brought them back to home soil, where they can tell the stories for all of us to learn and to know that, yes, though we may always be engaging in our rightful, lawful, business ventures to feed our families, we should be wary of where we go, and we should be security conscious.
Great work there, Castro Senior. Appreciate you for this. And kindly stay with me. Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst and also a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here, Dr. Victor Doke. Now, the activities of these insurgents and these extremist groups cannot be left to the individual countries to deal with, at least with what we are seeing now, the growing impact influence and the catastrophic situation that we're having to deal with, at least in the sub-region, is it not?
Well, no, it cannot be left to the individual states. Either the country where the incident happened, that is Burkina Faso, or even in Ghana. So if you can remember, that is why there was a conversation around ECOWAS coming up with the African Standby Force, a figure around the region of 1,650 thereabout for the purposes of tackling terrorism. So at least that sub-regional mechanism eventually will come into place for the state. And then you're talking about Ghana and then Burkina Faso and then other, neighboring countries. What can be done is just alertness with their internal security measures, the army, and then the other security agencies who have to just be very proactive in dealing with such situations. However, let's look at the aspect of these Sahelian states having to experience the activities of violent extremism for some time. And that is one of the reasons why even we had the issues about unconstitutional change of government, because they cited one of the reasons per the democratic elected government not being able to tackle the issues about insurgency. So the problem has compounded as of now. The dynamics have changed. It is unfortunate that other nationals, such as Ghanaians, are falling victim to such situations. But then it means that holistically, the approach of fighting this menace has to be collective and not individual, as we think it will be best. Because the talk about the standby force, if eventually it's implemented, as to when we are looking at it, the aspect of having that regional information sharing system or mechanism, which was the Accra Initiative, which is now somewhat defunct, because then Burkina, Mali, Niger were all part of it. They've opted out. So if Accra Initiative is no more, what other mechanisms can we, implement for the purposes of security, for the purposes of intelligence sharing, and then liaising with other counterparts in other areas where terrorism has been very rampant or effective in those areas, so that we do not have these incidents as we are recording now.
I see, but you mentioned something there. There's been a number of conferences, summits, symposiums, colloquiums, a lot of talk that has taken place as a result of what's happening now. While the leaders in the sub-region are playing the politics around this and not committing to the political will to deal with this collectively, citizens in the sub-region are dying. They are being killed by these extremists. So what must give, really?
Rightly so. So there are many reasons. The reasons why the individual states may have challenges in tackling this are multifaceted. Okay, you're talking about logistics. You're talking about the operational capabilities of these, countries that have been affected by the activities of terrorism. The absence of the governance structure in those areas is very critical. The international support, which is hitherto, very active, has now been somewhat curtailed by the democratic change, of governance in those areas. And let's even look at those countries that are, practicing or have a stable democracy. What has been the fight against terrorism? We are looking at the northern part of Nigeria now. How has it been so far? The aspect of political will, yes, is one. The aspect of the support, finances, the equipment to even fight this is another. And the aspect of having capacity collaboration from our partners, whether from the region or outside the region, is also another aspect. And that is why we see that the U.S. has contributed some 100 troops to the fight against, insurgency in the northern part of Nigeria to assist in the fight. And so, yes, the fight, when you talk about this, Herculean task, the individual states cannot do it. Now we need a collective voice where those, especially those affected, and even those of us surrounding those who have been affected by the activities of terrorism, have to be very proactive. How do we ensure that today it's our citizens going into those areas who have been affected, but then we have people coming in, crossing into our borders? How do we ensure that these elements do not come in and now have a foothold and then cause mayhem? That is what we need to look at. So proactiveness, intelligence sharing, and I think the capacity now with regards to having a focal person in the area of security. And by that I mean, we are talking about a Minister for the Defense who is now going to coordinate activities. You have the other sister security agencies who are doing their bit. You have acting defense minister, you have deputy, but overall, when there's a substantive person playing that role, it offers that cohesiveness. It makes it easier to coordinate the other, arms of security, and then now you can liaise with your partners in other regions for a collective fight against this menace. So I think the president needs to look at that aspect of the substantive minister as a matter of urgency.
I see, but you see, this particular extremist group, the JNIM, is expanding its reach, and we're going to show that in a bit, in terms of its operations and strike targets. And it's getting quite discomforting, to say the least, at least with what we have seen so far. Doc.
Right. So JNIM's activities, as you've already said, are spreading. And we shouldn't think that because we've not recorded any incident, then it means we are off the hook, or we should be off the hook, or we should just relax. No. This is a time we need to even study the dynamics of this particular group and their activities in neighboring countries surrounding us. And that would also help us in making that analysis, that would also help us to come up with the right approaches. And sometimes it's not only the connected ways, but non-connected measures can also be employed to counter these, insurgencies. So this is what we need to look at, because in every situation, you need to do an analysis of the group you are dealing with, their modus operandi, and then you can now have, a concrete intelligence covering them, and then you can act through a specialized operation. So we need to look at all these things.
I see, and I do appreciate your time on this, Dr. Victor Doke, and the recommendations going forward. He is a security analyst and also a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Thank you, Dr. Victor Doke. Ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, Reverend Tim Fojo, says the Defense and Foreign Affairs ministers should visit Burkina Faso to apprise themselves of developments following the recent attacks on these Ghanaian tomato traders that's led to 8 of them dying, unfortunately. According to him, a direct engagement between Ghana's defense minister and his counterparts in Burkina Faso would help establish true circumstances surrounding the incident. Take a look.
Since 72 hours, we got news of this incident. My expectation is that the Ministry for Defense, the Minister for Defense, or responsible for defense, and the Minister for Foreign Affairs should be able to make a trip to Burkina Faso to be able to ascertain the facts beyond the reports that the Minister for Interior has put out. Our expectation is that they ought to pay a visit, a high-level visit, particularly between the Minister for Defense in Ghana and counterparts in Burkina Faso to ascertain the actual circumstances that led to the killing, and further to that, certain concrete arrangements put in place to ensure the safety of Ghanaians who travel to Burkina Faso. We also, the whole country needs to be apprised on what exactly happened and details of how the government is handling it. 72 hours since the incident, apart from the very brief statement that was put out by the Minister for Interior with additional responsibility for national security, we haven't heard from the Minister for Foreign Affairs, we haven't heard from the Minister for Defense. These two ministers are the ministers whose jurisdiction much relates to this incident and ought to be briefing Ghanaians and ought to be engaging the citizens and how the things are unfolding, what happened, and the measures to be put in place to ensure to guarantee the safety of our Ghanaian citizens going forward. And that brings us to the concerns we've been raising. There's a major defense leadership failure because we have a lot of intelligence and within the security architecture of this country, it is for a reason. The constitutionally, Minister for Defense substantively is expected to be appointed. For 7 months, we haven't had a substantive Minister for Defense. And so for 7 months, there's an acting minister who at the moment is engaged and deeply, engaged in cocoa financing and its challenges and making announcements, slashing, cocoa prices. So he would have very little time to fully provide leadership for the Ministry of Defense to coordinate intelligence between the counterparts in Burkina Faso and those who are here, and to be able to fashion out a coordination mechanism that will ensure the safety of traders that are applying their trade there.
Well, so that's the Reverend Tim Fojo there. But if you look at in terms of the activities of this particular group that we're talking about, that's JNIM, they have been expanding their focus in terms of the impact and of the operations, and it's getting quite concerning to say the least. If you look at it, based in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, They've expanded now southwards to coastal West African nations, including Togo, our neighboring Togo, and Cote d'Ivoire, these two countries that we share border with. But Benin is in there. In late 2025, they claimed their first attack on Nigerian soil. So it's not one that can be treated as business as usual, especially looking at the force and the size of this group's influence. They frequently targeting national military forces, UN peacekeepers, international interests, using suicide bombings, complex ambushes, improvised explosive devices. In May 2025, they launched a major attack in Djibo, Burkina Faso, resulting in deaths of 200 soldiers. This is not one that, and obviously this is information that some persons close to the situation have also given to us, and it's been assessed as to the response mechanism going forward. You find more of this on 3news.com. But coming up next on Ghana Tonight, away from issues of security, we go to matters of education, because the Ketu North Member of Parliament, Adam Agbana, is raising alarm regarding content of a particular senior high school textbook. It's joining us right now on Zoom, but before we get into it, let me just give you a fair idea of the specific issues that he is raising regarding this textbook. And this time, this is not the first time we're having concerns about a textbook for either junior high school or senior high school students. If it's not about issues relating to LGBTQ, this time around, it's not an LGBTQ-related content, it's something else. So it's noted images from pages of Akiola series, social studies textbook for junior high school students that contain disturbing content that is not only false, but dehumanizing. And this content, among other things, sought to outline benefits Ghana has derived from colonization, okay? And it condemns it, being its attempt to portray colonization as of any benefit to Ghanaians and the Ghanaian society at large. When at the time when President John Dramani Mahama is championing continental efforts towards reparations, it's deeply quite concerning and deeply troubling, irresponsible to sanitize or glorify a painful chapter of our history. Colonization was inhuman. Eric Adam Agbana is a Ketu North Member of Parliament, joining us on Zoom right now. Good evening, Honorable. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred, and thank you for having me. Let me say good evening to all our cherished viewers.
That's perfect. I think that the sound is okay now. Now, what's the exact content in this Akiola series that you're raising concerns about?
All right.
Hello? Yeah, no, I can hear you now. Yes, if you can.
So I have with me Akiola series Millennium Edition 2, Social Studies for Junior High School Students. And some pages, when you go to page 53, for example, it gives you what they call positive effects of colonization, or benefits that Ghana or Africa derive from colonization. First and foremost, I think it's important to get the background to my anger, if you so wish to call it, against this content. Education is supposed to shape our identity. Education is also to protect our dignity. We have had a certain history as a people. Indeed, no one can erase the fact that there was a time where the people of Africa, the people of Ghana were colonized. No one can erase the fact that there was a time where the people of Ghana or the people of Africa were subjected to slavery now, or the slave trade. With all of this as part of our history, it is important to tell the story so that the young people, through their readings and their learnings, will appreciate the history of this country. But any attempt to try and conscientize them into believing that any of these acts even carries any positivity, for me, must be condemned. And it brings a broader issue of how thorough, how meticulous the NACA, the National Curriculum, the agency responsible for curriculum development, how meticulously they have done their work over the years. Because beyond this issue, there have been several other things that we have raised concerns with. I recall myself, about 5 years ago, I had cause to petition the Ministry of Education over some distorted history about the people of the Volta region. There were many other concerns about LGBTQ and several others. And all of these things find themselves in books that have been approved. I think it's about time we ask the right questions.
But
Alfred.
It raises fundamental concerns, Adam, about the supervision and then that gatekeeping role and who has to be held responsible for this. Because if all of this content goes out, from what I understand, these textbooks have already been published and distributed, correct?
Yes,
and it's being used by the schools.
And yes, and to my surprise, when I made this post on Facebook this evening, when my statement was issued, Alfred, many people in the comment section told me they already they've consumed that content. These things have been in our books for a while, and they do not think that and that for me should even encourage us to fight this more, because it's like telling me, and I beg to maybe make this example. It's like saying, and it's one of the comments I read, that justifying colonization is akin to saying that even if, with all due respect to our women, a woman is subjected to any sexual harassment or abuse, maybe because a child came out of it, then we can label the child as a benefit of that abuse. Certainly, we all know colonization and all these effects on us, and the fact that at the heart of colonization was the issue of exploitation, and the issue of the fact that our natural resources were exploited, the dignity of our people, was muddied, and you want to provide whatever reasons in a book, trying to justify, trying to tell the people, young people, that these things have any positivity. I beg to differ.
I see.
It is proper for us to define our history, but education must be in the light of truth and must be able to protect our identity. And that is the fundamental questions that I seek to address by my petition. And I am told, after I release the statement, that there are many other books within the system with similar or even worse content. It is about time the Ministry of Education, Ghana Education Service, NACA, and all the bodies responsible for this are held responsible, they are held to account, and let us sanitize what we churn out to our young students to read.
Okay, beyond this statement, I get an indication that you say you're going to petition which body exactly to deal with this?
So I will be on Thursday, I will officially petition the Ghana Education Service for the books in circulation to be withdrawn, because GES supervises the schools. And so since the books are already in the schools, it must be withdrawn, they must be recalled. That is one. Two, for the Ministry of Education and NACA to have a real look at the content of some of these books before these books are distributed any further. So Thursday, I'll be presenting 3 petitions: the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, and NACA. I am afraid I do not want my son to grow up learning that there was any such thing as positive effects or any positives, advantages of colonization. I do not want to subject my son to that. I do not want my younger brothers and sisters to grow up learning that the dehumanizing acts and torture that our forefathers suffered, there was anything called positivity. And when you read the book, what are some of the positives that they labeled? They said through it, the Europeans introduced formal education. Countries that were not colonized equally had formal education. And in fact, even before the arrival of the so-called colonial masters, formal education had existed in several ways.
Well, but you see,
again, they talk about infrastructure. Are we saying that for colonization, this so-called infrastructure, the buildings that they claim are the positives? We did not have the men and women with the capacity, with the capability to innovate and have some of these buildings.
Thank you.
I think that it is about time the authorities take a look at the content of the educational materials that we are placing before our children.
Dr. Peter Patianti is also joining us. He's the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, IFS, one of the foremost CSOs in the education space. Dr. Patianti, good evening. Hello.
Good evening, Alfred.
Perfect. I mean, you've been listening to Eric Edemagbana there, and you've seen a copy of that statement that he put out. Akiola it's a publication that has some goodwill to it over the years. 20 years and over ago, some of us used some of the books in senior high school and so on. But what could have gone wrong? I mean, or what is going wrong? Because this is not just a case in isolation. We're seeing a number of these textbooks getting to the system with this questionable or concerning content in various forms, and people are still keeping their jobs.
Alfred, I think that we should treat the issues independently. I'm not sure of the content of the syllabus. I mean, the curriculum that was developed for this particular issue that we are talking about, the Honorable is putting out. I think that we first have to find out whether it is in the curriculum. If it is in the curriculum, you don't blame the publishers, you blame the developers of the curriculum. If you think that the issue that has been raised is something that we need to take a second look at, because if it is not in the curriculum, then you can blame the publishers. So that I've not checked. As you are aware, I just saw the statement a while ago. So I will have to cross-check and see whether it's in the curriculum, because the curriculum serves as the basis for the development of the textbooks that the publishers do. And if you look at some of the issues that have come up with NACA's supervisory role, we always try to establish the fact that these things are not in the curriculum, but they have been put in the textbook. So we first have to establish, I don't know whether it's social studies or it is history, but we first have to establish whether it is an indicator or a strand or a sub-strand in the curriculum. And if it is in the curriculum, then the issue now narrows to NACA. Why do you want to treat something of this nature? Because the publisher only looks at what is in the curriculum and gets content for. And so you cannot blame the publisher much if it is in the curriculum. So I think we need to do some checks around this one before we can point out really who is to be blamed for this.
Right on. And I know that you've been part of the process in many ways in terms of curriculum development, correct? Yeah,
sure. I work with the development of the senior high school curriculum, so I understand the processes very well. Okay. So we would maybe tomorrow we would have to check. I want the Honorable to quickly get the curriculum for that particular subject and check whether it is in there. If it is in there, the publishers cannot be blamed, because if the publisher develops a textbook and that textbook does not fit the curriculum, NACA would not allow them to publish it. So if it is in the curriculum, then we can now narrow the discussion down to NACA and find out why they would want to treat a contest like that.
Okay. And Dr. stay with me, because we're going to go for this quick break. But when we're back, the issue we're talking about is still education related, and that's what's coming up next. Students of the West Africa Senior High School WAS have been remanded over alleged assault on a teacher. We have a video which we're going to show to you, quite disturbing, and it comes on the back of what happened recently. The president had cause to condemn it, but even with the arrest of these students involved in the not too distant past event, it did not deter these students from engaging in this despicable act. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, 3 main suspects comprising 2 students and 1 other person allegedly who is said to have assaulted a teacher at the West Africa Senior High School were arrested yesterday night around 11:30 p.m. and were put before the Adenta Circuit Court earlier today. Now, the 3 were remanded to police custody after pleading guilty to all charges leveled against them. Christian Yao Dinkra, who's the Ghana National Association of Teachers chairman for the area, that is the Adenta area, issued a statement detailing what had happened, and the videos you see there are these persons, the suspects, who appeared before the Adenta Circuit Court earlier today. Now, the video which we showed you portions of, it's quite disturbing a development, but these persons were arrested. That's the video as you see in there. We're going to take a listen to it. So look at the video there. The teacher is the gentleman who is seen in the video, was knelt down because apparently he was manhandled and beaten by these students with the sticks that they were holding. There are quite a number of them. This video has been made available to the Ghana Police Service. 2 out of the lot have been arrested together with someone else who is not a student as of yesterday, 11:30 p.m. They have pleaded guilty. So that's really what the development is. But this comes on the back of a number of instances we've seen of this nature. And not too long ago, in fact, just a few weeks ago, the president himself had cause to condemn this and committed to ensuring that this is dealt with, and through the Education Ministry, the GES, all making some commitment to this effect. It hasn't served as a deterrent to these students as yet. But let me take you through what has happened over time, at least in the last 5 years I've been tracking. On the 22nd of February 2021, students organized a group of men to assault a teacher over punishment, showing this escalating beyond the student-only violence. Then we saw a final year senior high school student also slashed a teacher with a cutlass, that's a cutter, and then was later jailed. On the 21st of June 2021, we had another incident involving a senior high school student violently beating a teacher and attacking a security officer over exam-related discipline. And these matters of teachers not allowing students to copy in the exam hall has been one of the major issues or reasons that the students adduced to doing this. Stabbing a teacher in the eye, leading to permanent loss of the eye on the 18th of November 2024, this happened. As well, on the 16th to 17th of September, we saw this, teachers mobbed and chased for blocking WASI cheating attempts. And then this we've seen consistently over time. Dr. Peter Patianti, quite a worrying development, is it not? I mean, with even these persons earlier, before yesterday, who have been remanded and are facing charges, did not serve as a deterrent enough. So what should be the thinking going forward to send a strong warning to students who want to engage in certain nefarious activities?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think we need to commend the police, Ghana Police Service, for taking this issue up, and then we need to ensure that this gets to its bottom, as in investigations and punishment and everything. Yes, but I think that this is fine. We need to treat these issues as criminal as possible, like we did with the Kede. We are treating this one too as a criminal issue, and I think that if the students see that we are continuously treating their behavior in this respect as criminal activities, there will be enough deterrence as we go on. But Alfred, I think that this is a broader policy issue. This week, I've got the cause to ask the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service what is their comprehensive policy response to this level of indiscipline that seems to be happening in our educational institutions. We cannot continue to have directives from the Ministry of Education like we just heard, asking the police service, the Ghana police to expedite their investigation, or directly from the Ghana Education Service. We cannot continue to deal with the so-called positive toolkit that was developed after the removal of the corporal punishment, or even the Dean of Discipline policy that was instituted by the previous managers of education in our senior high schools. These things have not yielded any results. So I think that going forward, in order to deal with this, we need to escalate this to a broader policy issue. What is the, and I want to reiterate that question, what is the Ministry of Education's policy response to the constant level of surge in indiscipline in our schools? They need to let us know what is their comprehensive policy response, because this has gotten far above the school level. It is no more a district issue. It is no more a student issue. It is even above GES. We need to have a policy response to this. And that is the only way we'll be able to tackle this holistically. The constant directives and all those things have not yielded results, as you have already alluded to. So we need to now call on the Ministry of Education and tell us what is their policy response to what is happening in our institutions. Students attacking their teachers, students burning school properties, students attacking fellow students, and all that. Recently, we heard of students who gang raped a girl during their sports activity. There were other situations whereby 2 schools crashed because of the sports that they went to do. Students went to sports stadium and they vandalized the place. What is the Ministry of Education's comprehensive policy response to all these indiscipline that is happening in our schools? We need an answer.
Much. Dr. Peter Partianti, thank you for this very precise, straight to the point demands there. He is a director of the Institute for Education Studies, IFES, talking to us. This is Ghana Tonight. Before we go, we've got a statement from the Minister of Foreign Affairs regarding the Russian gentleman who unfortunately had some Ghanaians falling, that's Ghanaian women or ladies falling victim to these videos that were taken that has gone viral. Now, that is sexual activity with him. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirms that the ambassador of the Russian Federation to Ghana was summoned today, that's Tuesday, 17 February, on the instruction of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs over the conduct of a supposed Russian national in unlawfully publishing sexually explicit images of Ghanaian women without their consent. The objective of the summons was to formally express the strong displeasure of the government of Ghana at the atrocious conduct of the supposed Russian, which clearly violates Ghanaian law, and to seek the cooperation of Russia in pursuing justice. Ambassador Sergei acknowledged the violation of the privacy and dignity of the victims and the larger cybercrime dimensions, while expressing the willingness of the Russian Federation to cooperate with the Republic of Ghana on the matter and issue. The Russian ambassador, however, indicated that he is unable to confirm the Russian nationality. So that's another big takeaway from this statement. They say that, according to the ambassador, he is unable to, at least for now, confirm the Russian nationality of the individual at the center of the intimate viral videos, and further disclosed that the purported name making the rounds in the media is not a known Russian name, and rather represents an inappropriate or vulgar expression in the Russian language. The ambassador highlighted similar activities of the said individual in other countries which had come to the attention of Russian authorities and was being investigated by Russian experts. So that's a big one in there as well. So we'll keep an eye on how things play out with this individual, whose nationality now is also being confirmed, according to the statement by the Foreign Affairs Ministry. You can find it on 3news.com. Join the New Day team tomorrow morning, also on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow. I'm Alfred Kansi. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint, superior durability.